to Wicked Darkness. I'm your host, Kathy. Tonight I have Rob, Rich, Amy, Brian, and Leah, all members of our Soup Pit Paranormal team. This is part 2 of our Ashmore series. During this episode, we'll be talking about our personal experiences over the 2-night stay that we stayed there. First, I want to thank the owners of the location, Rob and Terry, and his wife, as well as his amazing staff who welcomed us all into their home. They don't actually live inside Ashmore. They stay on the outside. They have living quarters on the outside, but they consider the building itself their home, and we so appreciate them allowing us to come into their home and staying there. For those of you who've already listened to our part 1 of this series, you may recall that we told you about Ashmore Estates history. For those of you just listening for the first time, let me first say thank you. Thank you for listening to us and joining with us tonight. Secondly, let's talk about Ashmore's long history. Just do a little recap. So Ashmore was once a former poor farm. It was an orphanage, a mental hospital, and a nursing home. And there were 2 very well-known spirits that haunt the walls and the halls of Ashmore. And those 2 spirits is Joe and Elva. And if you ever see their logo, they have it on their wall. And it's of a man and a little girl. And the man has a train behind him, and the little girl has some flames. That's a little bit of the story between the 2 of them. So Joe, he was an older man who went to the city, or went to the town. Charleston, Illinois is not too far away. But he was walking back from town back to Ashmore where he lived, and unfortunately he got into an accident with a train, and he was badly injured. But Joe was able to make it back to Ashmore, but his injuries were just too severe, and unfortunately he did not survive, and he died inside Ashmore. He loved Ashmore. They would put him to work to make him feel like he was a productive member of their group. So they would have little side jobs for him. So it was very sad when Joe died from his injuries. Little Elva, she perished. She lived in a house on the property, and not inside Ashmore Estates itself, but on the property there was a house, and she was 5 days shy of turning 5 years old, and she got up to go have breakfast in the morning. Mom was making breakfast, and the little Elva was getting dressed, and she got too close to the fire, and her clothing caught fire, and Elva was seriously injured from the burns that she had acquired from getting too close to that fire. And unfortunately, she also died. And so the 2 of them are still inside Ashmore. Joe takes care of Elva. And there's other spirits there, but those 2 are the very well-known spirits. So while we were there, Friday night, the first night we were there, Ashley, who is one of the staff members there, she's worked there for 8 years. They had an event the weekend before, and she had an experience that she's never experienced before. She's usually not afraid of anything inside Ashmore. Not to say that she was scared this time, but it made her think and question things. She did say she was a little frightened from it, and rightfully so. She was in the kitchen of the women and children's dining hall area, and she was standing there feeling this presence coming at her. She could hear the footsteps rushing at her, and it was a tall, dark spirit entity. She's not really sure what it was, but she could hear it rushing at her, and it frightened her enough that she ended up leaving and walking out of the building and collecting her thoughts. And so, even a week later, she was still trying to figure things out, and hopefully, she'll be able to figure things out soon. So, she decided she was going to walk around with some of our members that night, and we appreciate that. She, she showed us different things. She did the walkthrough with us and everything. But she took us into the kitchen area, and it's a very dark area. And Amy, you had a weird experience that sounded like a rock being thrown or something like that. That was being thrown at you, right?
It basically sounded like then all of a sudden like a clump of cement or something hit the ground behind us. But it was unlike any of the other sounds that we heard. So I don't know. It was weird. It made us both jump, I think.
Yeah. Well, and the room that you're in is like it's an extension almost to the building with a metal or a tin roof. And it was supposed to be, was it underground but not underground? I was trying to think about
I think
this.
he said it was underground, but they dug it out. I think originally it was.
Okay. So because there was the windows that were in there, and then but you can't look out the windows. The windows are blocked off. So it's really dark and you really can't see, your hand in front of your face.
Right.
But it does have some holes in the roof line itself. But as we've been discussing, like you really have to be able to throw that rock or that pebble, like pinpoint accuracy to get through one of those holes with that kind of velocity to startle you the way you got startled.
And the ceiling was, kind of hanging down, but I went in there with my flashlight and I looked around and it really didn't seem like there was anything on the floor. I know we looked outside too, and there was, some debris on the roof and that. But another thing too, there was like a weird rustling coming from in there. And I thought when we were going to go look at the roof outside that there was going to be a tree brushing against it, and there wasn't anything brushing against it. It's like several feet away from that area. So I don't know what that was either, but it didn't like things in the walls. It sounded like someone like kind of shaking a bag around.
Yeah, weird. I heard that several times too, like a trash bag.
Yeah.
At one point I was back in there. I don't remember if it was when we heard one of the rocks that sounded like got thrown, but I got up and went back in there. And when I was in there, I could hear it. And at the same time, I believe Leah and Brian were entering the room. So I wasn't sure if it was them, like stepping on those tiles, because some of those floor tiles were a little loose. So when you stepped on them, they made like a crunching noise. So I had Brian redo that and come back in the room, and it wasn't that. But it almost sounded like when you change the garbage and you bring your garbage bag out and you shake it, it was kind of like a rustling like that. It wasn't didn't sound like scratching. It almost sounded like I don't know, like a bag. Sound like a bag, but there definitely wasn't one in there because we walked back and forth. And the weird part is there wasn't a lot of debris on the floor in that room. And with as much noise as we heard of things falling from the ceiling or the walls, you would think you'd see a pile of something, and there wasn't a lot. And if I remember right, that room, there wasn't a ceiling in it. It was just the metal. It was the tin with the wood. There wasn't any plaster or any type of drywall to fall from the roof. It would have had to come off the sides of the walls. And
right. And when we were outside, you could see where the mortar was coming out of the bricks above it.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of pieces of mortar on there and other debris. And I spent a lot of time in that room, and maybe I'm jealous I didn't have a really creepy experience, but to me it sounded like, I could hear stuff hitting the wall, but it sounded like everything was outside, like maybe bouncing off the wall or the roof outside. So I never got that sense that anything was inside that room, that all the ruckus was coming from outside.
Right.
I tried to provoke that. I believe she described it as an 8-foot being or something, but I maybe I'm much scarier than that. I didn't really get anything out of that room but noise.
And I agree with you, Rob. Definitely, we heard the same things you heard, where you could tell it sounded like it was more outside, but there was a couple occasions that it sounded like it was inside, and it wasn't all the time. I would say more often than not, it was. You could tell it would sound like it was something on the roof or whatever, but there was a few times that it definitely sounded like it was inside. I'm hoping we have it on the recorder,
Right.
and that you can tell the difference.
Well, we kind of talked about it, like the mice and everything, because Ashmore is in the middle of a field. It's in the middle of nowhere, so of course there's going to be little critters running all over the place, and
or flying.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the mice, like you said, there wasn't a lot of sound from them. Could they have like gone across the rafters and hit one of those rocks? Maybe. But even still, like the sound that you're making it, or the way you made it sound, is that it was thrown hard. And
the one I heard definitely sounded like it was thrown. You would think if you dropped it from the ceiling or dropped it from the wall, it would just hit the floor.
Right.
This sounded like, I don't know how you try to explain it to somebody, but it sounded like it hit the floor, then bounced. But at the same time, it sounded like it was it was moving. It wasn't just hit the floor and bounce off the floor. It sounded like it had like you were skipping the stone across something. That's what it sounded like. And it sounded like it hit. If it would have hit the tin roof, I think it would have sounded more metallic, and it didn't sound that way. It sounded like it hit the floor. But like I said, you're right. I mean, it could be anything. And with the fact that we did see some mice in there,
mm-hmm.
and a couple other items that were moving about.
All right, let's just talk about it. The bat.
But until we figure out for sure that it was that, which I saw several mice running around, but I couldn't hear them, and they were right in front.
I missed the mice.
They were.
So there was the mice that was running around, but that bat didn't go all the way down there. That bat stayed. It seemed like it just stayed up on the third floor.
No, definitely not, because we would have known that. We would have heard it flying around,
or heard somebody scream.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't something else. In the instance of the experience that Amy and I had, definitely was not a bat. There was definitely nothing else flying around in there. And like Amy said, that place is pretty quiet. You can hear it's amazingly quiet,
right?
For a big building like that. You would think you'd hear like noises outside by the windows, or you'd hear wind whipping through, or you'd hear some. I mean, it's relatively soundproof almost. And
right.
Really,
no. But Rob, when you were in the boiler room, you said you could hear everybody everywhere.
There were certain times where I was sitting. I think I was in there with Brian. I don't remember who I was in there with. Either way, but you could hear, yes, like they were in a room right above you. Like nobody sounded like they were far away. I guess I'm trying to think of a good way to word it. Like they were in the room right above you, and I could hear them clearly. I could hear people and I guess they were a floor above it, but it sounded like they were more down the hall, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So, but other times that place was dead quiet, though.
Right.
And it could change real quick, but I mean, I guess that's where people were moving away or moving close. But there was even the point where I don't remember where we were, but base camp was being kind of noisy. So we had to quiet them down. I don't remember if we were upstairs or down the hallway.
I think that was when we were down the hallway when we were.
It traveled, and the acoustics were pretty good in that place. But outside, you could hear the cars miles away because the whole area is so flat and quiet and abandoned, and the building could be quiet, dead quiet, no pun intended. And then you could hear everything echo right through the whole building.
But when we were in there, when the car races were happening, because
that was awful.
Yeah, they had car races Saturday night, dirt track. So there's things to do, and that was 3 miles down the road, and it was bouncing off of there like it was right next door to us. But it was surprisingly like it didn't, unless you went on the third floor with all the windows open, you didn't really hear it on the first floor too much. And maybe a little bit on the second floor, but you really didn't hear it when you were in the first floor area. So yeah, I mean, the place was quiet. I mean, they had a refrigerator right outside base camp. Never heard that thing run at all. But once we got up to the top floors, like I said, the windows were open. So, we were hearing things then. But Dan had an experience. We had just came back from lunch, I believe. And he walked in, and we're still trying to see if we actually caught it or not. But he walked into the main entrance where we kept going in and out all day. And there's a room that is connected to our base camp room. It was called the team room, I think they call it. And Dan specifically said that he heard out of his right ear a man say, hello, like, welcome back, but there wasn't anybody there. And he was the only one that was in the building at the time. So we're still trying to see if he caught that, because I know he had a recorder on him, but we're not sure if that captured it or not. And we had one of our DVR cameras right there. So it's only been a week. We were there for 2 days, so we got a lot of evidence that we have to go through, but it was something that he heard audibly. He heard that disembodied voice. But then, Rich, you caught the little girl or woman, or it was a female.
Definitely a female.
That said hello.
Yeah, that was clear as day up on 2, I think.
2 by the piano?
I think it was 2 by the piano. And that was on Saturday morning, right after Robin had said, you guys need to check it out during the day. And I mean, I think it was 18 minutes into the recording.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that sitting upstairs.
Do we have that sound bite?
I have it. I don't know if it's gonna work on here. I was trying to actually.
I didn't get to hear it, unfortunately.
It's very, very faint. It's very quiet. So I don't know if it would work on here at all. I'm trying to see if I could. I gotta minimize you. Oh, I can't minimize you guys. I was gonna try to minimize you guys, but it's not gonna work. So there is a soundbite that we were able to get, but unfortunately, I can't pull it up right now. Sorry if you guys can't see me at all. Oh, wait, maybe I can. Let's see. I don't think it's gonna. Can you guys hear anything?
Just you.
Okay, yeah. So it's not gonna let me. Yeah. For whatever reason, it's not letting me do the soundbite with it. But there is a female that says hello, but it's very, very faint. It's like, hello, something like that.
It's faint, but you can hear. I mean, it's clear as, because there's nobody else talking. And right. I think I say something or somebody says something, and right after it, she says it. And it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Easy one to catch.
And then you got a growl too. That was probably another 15 minutes later.
Yeah, when you give me that recorder back, I'll have to listen to it again, because I don't remember where we were when I caught that, because that would have been during the day as well, because all of that recording is just from that Saturday morning.
Yeah, because when
couple hours.
When you captured it, you can hear you saying, like, you hear a door slam, and then you said, "Oh, that was a door slamming." It was. Yeah,
and
so I'm assuming you were on the first floor.
I think I might be talking. I think Rob might be talking. You hear other people talking at the same time, and it starts to do it almost immediately as we're talking, which is weird.
Yeah, you can hear. That's why I think you were in the back, like on the first floor. What would be
interesting is if we were in the boiler room, because that's a report in the boiler room is growling.
Oh,
if we could figure out where we actually were when we did that, because we did go in there during the day.
And we had a camera in there, right? We'd put a camera in the boiler room. We had a camera
aiming down the steps. So if we can figure out that was in the boiler room area, that would be really interesting, because that's other reports in there that people have had is growling in there.
Yeah. Just as long as it wasn't me, right? We know it wasn't me.
I don't hear your voice after that. All of our voices sound like they're in a distance. So I don't think it was you this time, for sure. But It's definitely something that is closer to Rich's recorder versus us down the hall, if that makes any sense.
Sure does.
So then we did a spirit box session, couple of them actually. The first one we did down in the kitchen, and that one was, you guys said that I was saying some stuff that whatever the question, I haven't watched the video.
Yep.
And I don't remember half of the things that were said.
That was the most interesting one to me. The one upstairs, I think, I don't know if anybody else agrees, but that one was more just all over the place with random. It was more random, I think. And even the one down in the kitchen area was kind of random at times. But then for all of a sudden, it got to the point where it was starting to make sense. We heard a bang. You said, "Get out." You said the little girl's name. I mean, all right in a row. Boom, 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 boom. And it was, we were like, whoa. But at other times it was kind of random. So it was like all of a sudden something just came through sporadically real quick at the end of it.
So when we do spirit box sessions, we'll take one of us and we blindfold us. And if you've ever watched Kindred Spirits, they do it a lot. So they will blindfold the person, and that's what we do. And then we put on a headset and turn on the radio, and it just scans through all the stations really quickly. And we have it up so loud we can't hear anything except for the radio. And so the team will start asking questions, and whatever the person, whoever's listening to the radio at that time, whatever they hear, they just say whatever the words are that they hear, but they can't hear the question. So it doesn't, for them, it doesn't make any sense. And so I did it the first time, and I like you said, I don't remember saying the little girl's name. Her name is Elva. And you guys said that I had said her name.
Which is not a very common name to be spewing out through the spirit box.
Right. And so it's just, sometimes it gets a little intense. And I know during that one, I was sitting on a table facing you guys, and I felt something touch my right arm. And then I felt like a hand going or something going across my back. And I know that you guys were all in front of me. Nobody was behind me. And I was kind of sitting up. So I wasn't all the way up against the back of the chair. I was sitting more straight. And I just felt that pressure going across my shirt in the back. And then it started kind of creeping me out a little bit. But I was like, all right, well, just try to suck it up, stay in the moment. But then it gets so intense, you can feel something. And I think it was that time that I felt like even with the mask on, it was even darker. So it was like, sometimes when you're wearing a mask, and it was nighttime that we did this. So, I mean, it was already dark in there, but it just seemed like whatever was there made that area around me even darker. Because I think we had a flashlight aimed towards me or something like that. So it was, it was an intense experience at that point. What else do you guys, do we want to go back? I think we kind of talked about this last night. We had a meeting last night, team meeting, but for those of you guys that weren't at the team meeting, what do you guys think? Go back?
For me, I didn't really have any kind of experiences. I mean, there was like uneasy feelings in certain areas that I don't know if they really ever seemed to go away. Well, I guess they did. Some spots would feel really uncomfortable, and later they'd be okay, and then later they'd be uncomfortable again. Some spots didn't make me feel like that at all, and I'm not as sensitive or anything. I went through some weird, like, emotional range there, but I don't know. I feel different after having left there and thinking back about those situations. So, I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind going back there, but you should get you had brought up a point before about going to some locations more than once, as to have a control and the testing, so we could. I mean, I'd be up for going back. It was a neat building, and especially the accommodations were very nice. And
They were like hotel for us.
Right, but also I guess I just did not sleep well, and it wasn't just because of the weird beds and the strange experiences happening in the men's bunkhouse. But and don't and don't take that the wrong way. That's not what it was supposed to sound like. But I had weird dreams the whole time that were really vivid and didn't make me. I wasn't sleeping very well, and I've been fine since then as well. So I'd be willing to give it a shot. Maybe there's new things we could try, techniques or something, but we got a lot of evidence to go through as well.
We do.
Right.
We do. And that's the thing. I mean, like we said, it would be nice to go back to places. And we kind of have been doing that lately, is just going back and revisiting places, because every single time we're getting something completely different in some aspects. Other things, it's like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense now. I understand why this happened. Oh, hello. Rob just showed us the puppy. So, I mean, I think that it would be a good experience for us to try to go back there, and see if we can figure out some of the things that we had experienced. I know for me, the third floor by the nurse's station was one of those uneasy feelings. But like I was telling them last night, I think now looking back at it, it might have been where the spirit was sitting there trying to tell me, don't go down this hallway by yourself, because the third floor used to be a mental hospital. And so it was like the worst of the worst were on that floor. So it could have been where, I'm a female by myself going in an area that had, the worst of the worst. And that they're probably thinking of my own safety of don't go in there, and if you're going to come down here, you're going to get in trouble or something's going to happen to you and you're going to regret it. So be smart, go back downstairs, go get somebody and bring them back up with you. But I know that we kind of all had that, not all of us. There was probably 3 or 4 of us that were having like the uneasy feeling of that area. And then it lessened throughout the night. And I know that, Rob, you made me sit down in the chair and confront whatever it was. So I did. And at some point, I just literally turned off the flashlight. You were at a distance down the end of the hallway. And I just kind of confronted it. And I said, enough is enough. What do you want from me? Is there something you want to tell me? And then all of a sudden I started seeing like the bugs coming out. And then we had the problem with the bat that just wanted to show itself to us on the 3rd floor and try to dive bomb us every chance it could. So it got to the point where like, all right, I got to get out of this hallway and go where we can go, where we're in an open area. So if the bat does come, we've got more places to run. So the bat was menacing. But
me running around in a circle with my hands over my head, that didn't help. So
no, it did not. It helped me. It helped me, but
Let it.
I got it all on video from everybody, so don't worry.
We had hoods on our heads. We were ducking. We were tucking. Whatever we could. We were trying to get away from this bat, and it was just like, yeah, no, I'm gonna hang out here with you guys, and you're gonna just suck it up. So
I was just thinking about something.
Yeah, what's that?
Several times when we did those spirit box sessions, we kept getting the number 4.
Yes.
4. How old was that little girl? Wasn't she 4 going on 5?
Yep, 5 days shy of turning 5. So yeah, she was 4.
We kept trying to figure out what is the significance of 4. You said it numerous times.
Mm-hmm.
Just something I was just thinking about when we were talking.
Right, because we asked how old you are, and I don't know if it answered right away, but
Holy crap!
Yes,
there's
I
two brothers.
forgot about that. That she was that young. So
Doppelganger.
right.
Yeah, and it could have been. I mean, because she's there quite often, which is kind of strange since she didn't die there.
She died on the property.
She
just
died
at
on the property.
Coles County poor farm or whatever before Ashmore was built. So
Right, which was 250 acres, I believe, that they had at one time. So I mean, it was a large property. Now it's obviously not that big.
I wish we could I wish that we had access to the cemetery that they have on grounds wherever that's located at. You got to figure it's got to be through that cornfield somewhere.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm assuming
it was nice. Well, that was the other thing with so they have a banner up with all the tombstones, and I think the word Andrew came out during one of the
that's another
sessions.
one. Yeah.
And Andrew was like one of the top
One of the first
tombstones?
ones, on the thing. Yeah.
So we never really looked into Andrew's story.
But yeah, you're right. We did get an Andrew pop through, which, I mean, I guess it's a little more common than Elba, but still, Andrew isn't one I would expect to.
I don't think we got any other names besides those two, did we?
I
don't think so. I think that's it. I think those are the only two names that we got. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, when I was doing it, I really don't remember because it's spewing out so many things and you're listening and it's so loud that you're just trying to focus, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. So, but who knows? We might have gotten something along the lines of, some information that we didn't know about. We just have to do the research of it.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. Anything else you guys got for us for Ashmore that you want to talk about? No?
No. Did anybody get anything around the Hannah's room or in that area?
As of right now, no, I didn't. I did not.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
We spent some time up there during the day. So the recorder I have, I went in her room and we were sitting outside of her room for a while. I didn't get anything on that recorder.
We did have a recorder sitting in the room the whole time.
Yeah. We do. Yeah. Dan has that one. So we'll find out what Dan captured if he, if we got anything. I don't know.
Sleeping.
Probably. We all need some sleep after this week. It's been a busy week for us. So,
but it was fun. It was good. I think it was a great time. I think
it was.
Lee and I were up by Hannah's room and we had that pebble that was thrown, which was extremely interesting. We were up there by ourselves, and it's what it sounded like to us was a pebble being like thrown, pebble or a stone being skipped across the floor right in front of Hannah's room.
And
now with all the pebbles and rocks being thrown, I'm starting to think there might have been a Sasquatch in there.
Well, and look to see if that side with the tin roof was on the side of Hannah's room, and it wasn't.
No.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, we'll bring you part 3 of our was going to be a part 2 series, but now we've changed it into a part 3 series where we'll be talking about some more of our time at Ashmore. And after we've gone through some more of our evidence, we'll be able to bring you some more information that we may or may not have captured at Ashmore. So as always, we want to thank you for listening. We love to hear what you think of our show, or if there's a topic that you'd like us to discuss, please email us at swpit@gmail.com, and that's SEWPIT@gmail.com. To keep hearing our episodes, please make sure to follow us. You can listen to us on multiple media platforms. Well, we're on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, as well as our link on our website. And our website link is www.swpit.com. And if you want to see more of us, please follow and give us a like on Facebook, Instagram, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's SewPit2009. Until next week, for our believers, keep believing, and for our skeptics, continue to keep us grounded. I'm your host, Kathy, and thanks for listening to Wicked Darkness with Sue Pit Paranormal.